Good morning. Whenever we gather in this sacred space, it is made more sacred by the presence and attention of each and every one of us. Whether we are here in the sanctuary or attending by live stream from places far and near, or viewing sometime in the future, we are here together. I invite us to turn to the camera and wave to our live streaming friends. Let us take a moment now to greet one another.
Welcome, everyone, to the Winchester Unitarian Society, a caring religious community devoted to spiritual growth, social transformation, and environmental responsibility. As a welcoming congregation, we affirm the full inclusion of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, whatever their faith traditions or their immigration status.
Yes, I know. I'm just going to...
For those among us from other lands, know that we honor the command of the Hebrew Bible, Deuteronomy 10, verse 19, quote, "You must treat the foreigners living among you as native born and love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in the land of Egypt." My name's Martin Newhouse, and I am serving as worship associate this morning. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith does not require us to believe in a dogma, tenet, or creed, and among us we believe many different things. We prize freedom of thought and open, honest discussion and questioning because these, we believe, enrich both our spiritual lives and our work in the community. Indeed, we can still proudly state today, as the first minister of this society, Richard Metcalf, stated over 100 years ago, quote, "We do not regard even the best creed as final. We look for new truths and new statements of old ones. We maintain the unlimited right of free inquiry." But while our faith does not impose any dogma or belief, we recognize that it does call upon us to do certain things, and among these, we recognize and affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and in that spirit, we greet with joy and fellowship all who are gathering with us this morning, both in person and via live streaming. We welcome you all. If you are visiting us for the first time, either in person or online, please take a few moments during the service to provide your contact information on the visitor card in the pew rack in front of you so we can stay connected beyond today. Live stream attendees will see information about how to complete the virtual visitor card. As I say, please complete the visitor card and put it in the collection plate during this morning's offering. Now, there are three very brief announcements. The first is, you may have noticed in your order of service a new sheet. This sheet tells you what is going on in the Winchester Unitarian Society. So look for that in future orders of service to keep us all informed. And as someone of a certain age, I'm thrilled that I don't have to go online to find out this stuff. Second announcement is you will see on the sheet that today at 11:30, there will be a budget preview in the Mickelson room with our treasurer, Judy Murray. For those who are interested in the budget, this will be a meeting. Now, Judy assures me that although the sheet says it'll go from 11:30 to 1 p.m., in fact, it won't last that long. So don't worry about having to be there for so much time. She will answer all of your questions about budget arcania. Finally, as you all saw from an email you should have received earlier this week, there will be a meeting today at 12:30 in the parlor about the final draft Congregational Covenant. And as stated in the email, the purpose of this meeting is to discuss reactions to the final draft and next steps on what comes next now that we have a final draft. For those people who are unable to come to the meeting, the virtual meeting, the in-person meeting today, there will then be a meeting on Zoom tomorrow, May 4th at 7 p.m. Is that okay? In the chapel? Okay, in the chapel, and that's where it'll take place, in the chapel. Okay, whether you're able to attend the in-person meeting today or not, we hope that you will join us immediately after the service in the Sims room, which is directly behind the sanctuary, for coffee and conversation. And now let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit of worship. I now invite Miriam Carrier-Ladd to come up and light our chalice. Our chalice lighting words this morning are by Reverend Betts Winnecke, who was a pioneer for women in the UU ministry and was settled minister for 18 years at the Live Oak UU congregation in Goleta, California. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Let us now rise in body or in spirit for the singing of our first hymn, number 1003 in the Teal hymnal, Where Do We Come From?
And if I can invite us in this hymn, please rise and stand as you are able. We'll sing this through all together one time with the repeats. And then I invite you after that to choose a part of your liking. So we'll have a little free play at the end of it.
I would like to invite those who are young and young at heart to come forward for a story. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So this morning, I want to talk about our UU shared values, specifically our third value. So hold up 3 fingers. Does anyone remember what our third value is? Anyone? May, you remember? Pluralism, that's right. Does anybody remember what pluralism is? Anybody? It's a big word and one we don't use very often, so I'm not surprised that you haven't tucked that one away in your brain yet. So the definition of pluralism is when different kinds of people with different beliefs and cultures and faiths and so forth exist together in the same place and receive equal treatment no matter what. The goal of pluralism is to build a beloved community, something we talk about in here at WIS a lot, right? We talk about building the beloved community. And in this community, everyone has the same rights and protections, the same permission to live as they wish. So in Spirit Play, our shared values, we remind ourselves that pluralism, which is our green value, is a reminder to get curious about others and what we can learn from them. So to remember that difference is an invitation to get curious can sometimes be difficult, right? It can be difficult to remain curious when someone's different from us. Maybe someone does things in such a different way that it makes us a little nervous or a little confused. It happens. The reactions are normal. As humans, our brains and our bodies are made to protect us from things that might cause us harm, right? That's just science. That's just what they do. So the difference can sometimes make our bodies or brains feel nervous. When it happens, we need to get curious about 2 things. First, get curious about that reaction, that nervousness, right? Ask, why am I feeling this way? Does what this person is doing or saying seem threatening to me as a person? Am I in danger? And if the answer to that question is no, then we can ask ourselves the second set of questions. I wonder, what is this person doing or saying? What can I learn from this person? Do you think those are things you can remember to do when you feel a little nervous about someone different from you? It's a practice, and we're all practicing, grown-ups too. It's a hard thing to practice. So when we can ask ourselves this questions, we're practicing pluralism, helping make that beloved community for everyone. So, you may have noticed that I drew some faces on my fingers. Did you notice that? On my 3 fingers for our third value? So whenever I do pluralism, I always draw faces. Can you think why I might do that? Miriam? Right, and I make all the faces different to remind myself that pluralism is about difference and being together in our differences, right? Because they're all on one hand. They're right next to each other, right? So that helps me remember what pluralism is, because, yeah, I forget sometimes, too. I have to look it up once in a while. So I was thinking that that if you all would like to draw faces on your hands, on your fingers, that would be kind of cool. So you could walk away today with your 3 fingers for pluralism with different faces on them. So I left some markers on the kids' table in the Sims room so that at coffee hour, if you want to draw faces on your fingers, you can do that. And then that might remind you this week, or at least today, because your moms and dads and other grown-ups might make you clean your hands. I know, silly, but it happens. But it will remind you maybe a little bit to see difference as something worth getting curious about. What do you think? Would you like to do that? And then maybe also there might be some grown-ups who would like faces drawn on their fingers. So any grown-ups, if you want some, original artwork on your hands today, go over and visit the kids' table. I'm sure there'll be plenty of kids willing to draw faces on your fingers. Does that sound good? Okay. So if we all leave here today with finger faces, Let's hope that helps us remember the UU value of pluralism and invite curiosity, and lots of it, into our hearts and our communities. Sound good? All right. I invite the grown-ups to sing the children and teachers to religious education. The words are in your order of service.
I invite you now to get settled into your space. Maybe you close your eyes. Maybe you ground yourself by placing both feet on the floor. Maybe you take a deep breath in and out. Let us reflect now together on these words from Kara Fortner, titled "Blessed Just by Being." She wrote, "Dear humans, the ones with senses that witness and hearts that break, the ones with brokenness and bruises seen and unseen, know you are blessed just by being. Dear humans who struggle through changing tides and crashing waves, the ones who dig deep and hold on tight, and the ones who run up the beach to the safety of the dunes, know you are precious and that you have choices. You who let joy kindle your souls even when outside forces would wish to blow out the flame, know you are lovely and wonderful. You who study, research, express, and innovate, who question and test and experiment, know you are needed and valued in your curiosity. Dear humans, the ones who commune with the trees and animals, who admire the caterpillar on the milkweed and marvel at the spider on her web, know you are beautiful in your connectedness. You who struggle, who love, who yearn for more and better and more loving, who suffer, who resist, who play and delight in the important things, keep your precious ways which bring more loving into the world. Cherish your innovations and your choices. And dear humans, know that you are blessed just by being. You may come forward and light a candle now if you wish. Let us kindle the light.
This morning's reading comes from a book entitled Curious by Ian Leslie. The way we think about curiosity in the West has been anything but stable. In ancient Athens, curiosity, or curiositas, meant the purest of knowledge, purely for its own sake. Men investigated the world and made theories about it because it was interesting, said Aristotle, not for any utilitarian end. If knowledge could be put to practical use, that was all very well. But to start with such an aim was rather grubby. Curiosity's only end was the elevation of the soul. The Romans inherited this purest conception of curiosity. Cicero defined it as, quote, an innate love of learning and of knowledge without the lure of profit. It wasn't a purely cerebral pursuit. It was also something deeply felt. Curiosity was also talked about as a bodily urge, an appetite. It embodied our lowest and our highest natures. As the Catholic Church asserted its dominance over the lives of Europeans, the reputation of curiosity suffered a centuries-long reversal. The key figures in early Christianity regarded curiositas as an impious diversion from the only object worthy of contemplation, God. Curiosity retained its bad reputation throughout the medieval period. It was only in the 15th century, with the revival of interest in classical ideas that came to be known as the Renaissance, that curiosity started to become respectable again, or if not quite respectable, at least glamorous. Leonardo da Vinci embodied a new and daring interest in the unknown, unexamined, and prohibited. The Church's monopoly on learning came into conflict with a growing political, military, and economic impetus to investigate, understand, and ultimately gain dominion over the natural world, a tension that came to a climax in the famous trial of Galileo. Galileo's imprisonment was a rearguard action, however. The Church was fighting a losing battle. Great thinkers, backed by powerful patrons such as the Medici, were transforming Western thought's views of its place in the world. Galileo's telescope, and later, the news of Newton's orderly cosmos, opened up new and very practical possibilities in the realms of war, exploration, and trade. The Protestant Reformation had loosened the grip of the Catholic dogma, making it more acceptable to question orthodoxies. In the 17th century, worldly curiosity was adopted by Europe's ruling classes. While the Renaissance, global trade, and the scientific revolution made curiosity respectable again in the West, it was the printing press that made it popular. Gutenberg's printing press was a curiosity machine. It facilitated the rapid spread and exchange of ideas, corroding old certainties and igniting powerful new ideas. Sir Francis Bacon called the printing press one of three inventions, along with firearms and the compass, that, quote, changed the whole face and state of the world.
Curiosity still gets a bad rap. As we heard in our reading this morning, the overall appreciation of curiosity in Western thought has generally swung back towards the positive, but it's still undervalued. One of the most widely read and shared stories about curiosity is one most of us are familiar with, the story of Adam and Eve, and the apple and humankind's fall from paradise, all because Eve was curious. Most of us have also heard of the story of Pandora's box, in which Greek god Zeus gives Pandora a box she must never open, and when her curiosity leads her to do so, she unleashes evil and misery into the world. Not lost on me also is how many of these stories make women as the one who caused the problems, right? While those stories are of ancient origins, we also still say things today like curiosity kills the cat. Or at least I heard that a lot when I was growing up. Given the long-standing disdain of curiosity in the history of Western thought, it's not very surprising that we still don't value it very much, even with our recent philosophical embrace of curiosity as a positive concept. Many of us in the modern age tend to think of curiosity as something that children embody, because they do, right? Something that most of us lose during the transformation from child to adult. It's not that we think adults aren't or can't be curious, but we tend to think of curiosity as a general characteristic that children possess, one that fades and presents less as we age. And there is truth to the reality that our adults are often much less curious than children. It doesn't have to be that way, though. Ian Leslie, the author of our reading this morning, suggests that curiosity is something that we can choose to be or not be. It's not just an inherent characteristic. And so he writes about curiosity. Curiosity is vulnerable to benign neglect. As we grow older, we tend to become less active explorers of our mental environment, relying on what we've learned so far to see us through the rest of the journey. We can also become too preoccupied with daily skirmishes of existence to take the time to pursue our interests. If you allow yourself to become incurious, your life will be drained of color, interest, and pleasure. You will be less likely to achieve your potential at work or in your creative life. While barely noticing it, you'll become a little duller, a little dimmer. He concludes, you may not think it could happen to you, but it can. It can happen to any of us. Certainly, when we don't think of curiosity as a way of being to practice, value, and lean into, our curiosity muscle can lose strength and even perhaps wither on the vine for some of us, which is a real loss when it happens. Because as Leslie notes, a lack of curiosity can make life feel bland, a little duller, a little dimmer. Why this is the case may not be immediately intuitive, so let's think about it for a second. Taken to an extreme, incuriosity, a complete lack of interest in newness or novelty in our lives, how does that sound to you? I know there are some of us who really like our routines, I'm one of them, but doing the exact same thing for everything every day, eating the exact same food, reading the exact same book, wearing the exact same clothes, some routine and structure works really well for many of us, but if everything was always exactly the same, I'm pretty sure that would be boring for most of us. Most of us engage in new experiences all the time, in fact, without really wondering about what drives us to try new things, whether that's new food or new hobbies, or a different route for your walk, or even consuming different kinds of articles or taking in varying social media content. Curiosity, the desire to explore something new, is actually a powerful driver of human experience, one that creates richness and depth in our lived experience. Sometimes structure and stability is what we desperately need. But over time, too little curiosity can become just as much of a life challenge as too much change. Leaning into curiosity is also not just good for a sense of engagement with life. Curiosity is also one of the drivers of a rich religious and spiritual life, especially a Unitarian Universalist spiritual and religious life. People who regularly engage in spiritual practice, engage in religious community, or choose a religious life often do so out of a sense of curiosity. Sometimes we default to participating in communities we were raised in, for sure. But these days as adults, it's no longer culturally mandatory to be part of a religious community, and so many simply stop showing up. Those who stay, and those of us who have actively sought out and chosen to be here, though, we are at least in part here because we're looking for something more. Members of a congregation almost always want a minister who is a good preacher, who is engaging or inspiring in some way on Sunday mornings. Ministers are people too, and when we're attending and not leading the service, we also want to be engaged and inspired. So why does this matter to all of us so much? Because we don't want to be bored, of course. But also more deeply, I think it's because we want to learn more about life and the spirit and things that really matter. In other words, because we're curious. And if Sunday morning services don't help us learn and grow and evolve on some level, we're missing one of the key things that brings us to this place in the first place. And this is particularly true in Unitarian Universalism. The act of being curious is in many ways defined by the asking of questions. And throughout our history, Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists have been defined by the questions we ask and the spiritual seeking we engage in. If you haven't taken the new member class that we recently just concluded, and you don't know, the Unitarian Universalism was formed from the Unitarians and the Universalists, two formerly Christian denominations, right? And so the Unitarians were given the name Unitarian originally as a slur because our forebears questioned the concept of the Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit as co-equal aspects of God. Then the Universalists gained their name from questioning why an all-loving God would ever send anyone to hell, concluding that indeed an all-loving God would do no such thing, that God is love, and that God saved all people. Whether it was questioning the Trinity, questioning hell, or some other form of heresy, most of our ancestral questioners weren't questioning to be rude or to cause trouble. They were genuinely curious. They wanted to know. They wanted to find an understanding of their truth that felt right to them. And then, after the merger, curiosity was so important to us in the 20th century that when our faith tradition was born in its current incarnation as Unitarian Universalism, among our first principles that we embraced as a collective was our value of a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. For many who found and joined us, that free and responsible search for truth and meaning is at the heart of who we Unitarian Universalists are. We not only don't have a creed and don't tell people what to believe about God, the afterlife, and other areas of big picture cosmology, we do actively encourage people to keep asking questions and to continue to grow and evolve their understanding of life and spirituality. As you have heard me share from this pulpit before, we are a faith tradition that holds on more tightly to our questions than our answers. We keep asking the questions, sometimes the same ones, sometimes over and over, and keep evolving and deepening our answers, because we are at heart a curious people. One might even argue that curiosity is central to Unitarian Universalist identity. If you are here this morning, there's a good chance you possess a higher degree of curiosity than some others out there. This is by no means to say that curiosity doesn't exist in other faith traditions, nor that other faith traditions and the people in them are incurious. It's simply to say, somewhat like we view children as a whole to be curious creatures, one might also view us Unitarian Universalists in a similar light, with one of our defining characteristics being our curious approach to spirituality and making meaning of life. So, we've identified curiosity as important to a fulfilled life and as a central aspect of the religious pursuit, especially in Unitarian Universalism. Curiosity is more than just a drive and an impulse, though. It is also a skill and a tool that we have at our disposal. I was at a friend's birthday party recently where I engaged in conversation with a fellow attendee who shared that they often felt awkward in social settings like the one we were in, meeting new people and unsure of what to say. I have often felt the same way. And so I empathized and shared that. And I also mentioned, and hey, I have to do this every week as part of my job. It's this thing we have called social hour. 15 years into ministry, I have made my peace with coffee hour. I no longer feel anxious about the need to have 30 to 45-minute conversations once a week. And so I shared with this person one of the strategies I use to help make the process of casual conversation easier for those times when it feels like a struggle, which, as you might have guessed, is curiosity. As I shared with my new friend, as it turns out, most people are happy to talk about themselves. So if you bring a curious approach to social interactions, even with people you don't know, it works just fine. If you just ask questions and then ask follow-up questions and then more follow-up questions, that one strategy can go a long way in helping you navigate almost any social situation. So that's a pro tip for anyone greeting newcomers here on Sunday morning, and especially for those who feel like that's a social challenge. Just ask questions. As many of you know, curiosity is a great way to get conversation flowing. Now, that may seem like common sense to many of you, and if so, that's great. But perhaps the next part might not be as straightforward. Curiosity is also a really great strategy and tool to use when navigating conflict. As we heard in the first reflection earlier this morning, curiosity is also a great tool to help us navigate difference and help us live into our shared value of pluralism. Turns out curiosity can be pretty helpful when difference escalates into conflict as well. It is a pretty common response for many, if not most of us, when faced with conflict, or if someone says something that is offensive or upsetting to us, to respond with some combination of anger, defensiveness, and frustration. And maybe we might voice that out loud in the moment, or maybe we pull back or withdraw or disconnect to try and avoid the conflict. So those are a couple of different strategies or ways of handling things. There are other strategies to navigate conflict, and one of those, a really powerful one, is curiosity. Hopefully, most of you saw the email that came out on Friday with a final draft of our covenant, which includes one of our statements that we're going to propose we adopt for the covenant that encourages us to listen with respect and curiosity. Because when we are able to listen and respond from a curious place, it can transform tense or confrontational situations into something much gentler. Instead of, "What do you mean I don't listen?" Or, "That's so offensive." Or, "How can you not believe in vaccines?" What if we chose to respond instead with curiosity? I'm sorry, I really thought I was listening, but clearly I missed something. Will you help me understand what I missed? Or, "I thought I was listening. Can you help me figure it out? What's going on?" Or, "Tell me more about vaccines and why you don't like them. What have you learned that makes you think they don't work?" It's a very different tone, very different feel, likely to generate a very different response from the person you're responding to. When we take a curious approach to conflict, it can help us be empathetic, it can help us try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from. It doesn't mean that we then automatically agree with their perspective. It doesn't mean we don't set boundaries and say no when someone is doing or saying something harmful. But just straight out challenging people is usually not a particularly effective strategy for resolving differences. Nor is withdrawing or disengaging, even if we might need to do that sometimes to keep ourselves safe. Asking questions and being curious can help us connect with the person with whom we're disagreeing. Asking questions and being curious can help us learn more about how they arrived at their frustration with us or their belief that they hold. And once we've done that relationship building and maybe ask a whole bunch of questions to try and really understand why it is that person thinks that way, without just counteracting them, without arguing, but really being curious about why they think what they think, it can be a lot easier to work together towards a solution that works for everybody, or to change minds, or at the very least, to civilly and kindly and respectfully agree to disagree. So friends, our theme this month is awakening curiosity. This morning, my encouragement is for us to do more than just awaken. It is to embrace curiosity as an approach to life, to embrace curiosity as an approach to spirituality and religious life, to embrace curiosity as a social strategy, and perhaps most importantly, embrace curiosity as a strategy for navigating conflict. Rather than just allowing curiosity to remain the realm of children, may we adults claim curiosity for what it is, a powerful and transformative tool for living.
Thank you, Seth, for that inspiring reflection. And while we continue to take in the challenge that Reverend Seth has just given us, the morning offering will now be generously given and gratefully received. As noted in the order of service, the offering this morning will be shared with St. Mary's Center, which is described in the order of service as a multi-service organization supporting women and families, supporting pathways out of poverty for hundreds of families experiencing homelessness each year. Please give as generously as you are able, and if you have completed a visitor's card, don't forget also to place that in the collection plate. Those who wish to do so are invited to join in the unison affirmation that is printed in your order of service. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. Recreate and reaffirm this covenant this day, to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love.
Hello?
Today is a special day. I invite our 5 new members to please come forward. By signing the membership book today, which we'll do at coffee hour, 5 among us are joining the Winchester Unitarian Society.
It is my joy to introduce, let's get us all up here before I introduce you. I'll just wait a second. It is my joy to introduce to you, in alphabetical order, Mary Cunningham, Ron Ephraimson, Mark Johnson, Michael Johnson, and Dorothea Mastella. If you'd like to learn more about our new members, you can read their bios and their pictures, connect the names with the faces, in the insert in your order of service. Or even better, you could introduce yourself at coffee hour and get to know them if you already haven't had that opportunity.
We celebrate that by finding your spiritual home in this congregation and becoming members, you offer your presence, your commitment, and your many gifts to this community and the values that call us together. Welcome.
Uh-oh, I made a mistake. Sorry, I was supposed to print out something for the new members to say with me.
We're
Can you
huddling.
all?
We got it.
You got it? We're going to huddle. Okay. Sorry. I was supposed to have these. Okay, here we go. New members, this is the part you're going to read. New members, please share with the congregation this new member affirmation. As new members, we accept the gifts and responsibilities associated with membership to support this religious community with our time, talents, and resources, and to join the Winchester Unitarian Society in the common quest for spiritual growth and for the common purpose of building meaningful lives and a better world. Hey, we did it.
Will the congregation please rise in body or in spirit and read in unison the congregational affirmation? The words are printed in your order of service.
We welcome you with anticipation and joy. We hope you find here room to flourish in mind, body, and spirit. We accept you into our community as companions in the spiritual journey. We pledge to rejoice with you in times of happiness, to grieve with you in times of sorrow, and to share with you all the blessings of our free faith. We got that in the order of service. See, that was good. I'll be trying to read that would have been really hard. Hey, we have some gifts for you. We are so glad to have you among us. Give them another round of applause. Oh, and you almost all sat down, but the request is to remain standing as we sing our closing hymn, number 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child. Friends, truly, let us not just leave curiosity for the young. Curiosity is such a powerful and potentially life-transformative tool, both for ourselves in our everyday living and in how we engage with others. Let us not leave it for the young. Let us claim it for ourselves so that we can make the world a better place. Go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.
Not working. Please join me in reciting the words for extinguishing the chalice found in your order of service. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our service has ended, but our life of service has not, and it continues. Please let us now join in conversation with one another in the citizenry.